Imagine pulling a handful of pennies from your change jar and spotting a 1978 Lincoln cent. At first glance, it looks like any other well-worn copper coin, but then you notice there's no mint mark beneath the date. Could this be a hidden rarity, the kind of cent collectors quietly look for? Today we'll uncover the real story of the 1978 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, and why knowing the details could make the difference between an ordinary penny and one worth setting aside. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since 1909, first issued for the centennial of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1978, the design by Victor David Brenner had been circulating for nearly 70 years, and the memorial reverse by Frank Gasparo was in its 20th year of production. Unlike today's cents, which are mostly zinc with a thin copper plating, the 1978 issue was still composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing in at 3.11 grams. Collectors know that copper cents of this era have a very different look and feel compared to later ones, with a richer color and heavier weight. Now here's where the no mint mark question comes in. In 1978, Lincoln cents were struck at two facilities, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia Mint, by long tradition, did not use a mint mark on its cents, so every cent struck there that year shows just the date with nothing below it. Denver cents, on the other hand, carry a small D. That means if you have a 1978 cent without a mint mark, it's not necessarily an error. It's simply a Philadelphia issue. This is one of the most common misunderstandings in coin collecting, and it's why careful knowledge is so important. But stay with me here, because there are varieties and conditions that really do set certain 1978 cents apart from the billions of ordinary strikes. More than 5.5 billion were struck in Philadelphia alone, so the vast majority of no mint mark examples are worth only face value in circulated condition. That's right for most pocket change finds. A 1978 no mint mark penny is just a cent. Yet the story doesn't stop there. Collectors prize coins based on condition, rarity, and distinct variety. With a coin like this, condition is everything. A well-circulated example with heavyware typically trades only for 1 to 2 cents, essentially copper bullion value. A nice circulated coin in fine to very fine condition might fetch 5 to 10 cents from a roll searcher or someone building a circulated set. Once you move into extremely fine and about uncirculated levels, values begin to stretch into the 25 cent to 75 cent range. The real jump comes in mint state, particularly those graded and certified. An uncirculated Philadelphia 1978 cent with bright original luster can bring $2 to $5. Certified examples in MS-65 or higher, especially those designated as red by grading services, can realize $20 to $50, sometimes more if the strike quality is exceptional. The true outliers are coins in the top population reports from PCGS or NGC. A blazing red MS-67 example has crossed auction blocks in the low hundreds of dollars. Not life-changing money, but certainly far more than a penny. Let's pause here. Have you ever wondered why two coins of the exact same date can differ so widely in value? That's because subtle differences in strike, color, and surface condition mean everything to serious collectors. On the Lincoln cent, specialists look for full steps or sharp details in later Jefferson nickels. But here they want original red color and clean surfaces. Brown or spotted coins lose value quickly. What about errors? This is where things get interesting. While a 1978 cent with no mint mark is normal, there are known error types from this year that command premiums. Off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably, can range from $10 to $100 depending on how dramatic the misstrike is. Double dies, though scarcer for 1978, do exist. These show up as doubling in the lettering, especially in the date or in Liberty. Values can stretch into the tens or low hundreds, depending on visibility and condition. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin's rim is missing, usually worth $5 to $20. If you think you've spotted an error, don't rush to conclusions. Machine doubling and common wear can trick the eye. This is why professional authentication matters. Speaking of authentication, let's talk grading. If you believe you have a higher grade 1978 cent or a legitimate error, sending it to a professional grading service is wise. The two most trusted are the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. A certified holder provides both market confidence and a permanent record of your coin's grade. This is especially important if you plan to sell, as buyers will pay a premium for coins they can trust. Now, let's consider selling strategy. Suppose you've uncovered a beautiful red 1978 Philadelphia cent in mint state, or perhaps a dramatic error. Where should you sell it? There are several routes. A local dealer can provide immediate payment, but remember they must buy at wholesale to stay in business, so you'll often receive less than full retail. A reputable auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers offers the widest exposure, but auction fees can range from 10 to 20%, and the process takes time. Online marketplaces like eBay provide direct access to collectors, and sometimes surprising prices, but they also carry risks of non-payment and high fees. Consignment through a specialist dealer can balance exposure and safety, but again, patience is required. The key is matching your goals, speed and simplicity, or maximum return through patience. Here's a quick collector's thought. When was the last time you checked your old Whitman folders or coin jars for condition upgrades? A 1978 cent in pristine red condition could replace a duller example in your set, and upgrading steadily is how strong collections are built. One important note for sellers: take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides of the coin, and never clean it. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and cuts value dramatically. If your coin is certified, include photos of the holder. If not, a raw coin still benefits from careful presentation and honest descriptions. Provenance, or a record of where the coin came from, can add credibility too. Let's also address a common online pitfall. You may have seen claims of ordinary 1978 no mint mark cents being worth thousands. That is not the case. Any coin listed with unrealistic numbers, say $50,000 for a common cent, is usually clickbait or a seller fishing for uninformed buyers. At Coin Lords, we avoid hype and stick to verifiable facts, so you always know where you stand. Trust comes from honesty, and that's what keeps collectors coming back. Stay tuned here because the final part of this story is not about a rare treasure, but about understanding the real market. The truth is that the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln cent is common, but high-grade examples and genuine errors are legitimately collectible. That balance between ordinary and extraordinary is what makes numismatics fascinating. Billions may exist, but only a handful stand out. So where does this leave you, the collector or potential seller? First, check your coins carefully, but know what is normal. Philadelphia cents in 1978 had no mint mark by design. Second, separate coins by condition. Anything bright, lustrous, and unworn deserves a closer look. Third, if you suspect an error, do your research and consider professional grading. And finally, when selling, weigh your options carefully. Immediate payment from a dealer, broader exposure at auction, or the control of online platforms. Each path has pros and cons, and the right choice depends on your goals. Here's a parting thought. Collecting is not only about the chase for rarity, but also about building knowledge and trust. Even a common 1978 cent can be a teaching coin, a reminder of how the smallest details define value. And sometimes, tucked in a roll or jar, is an example that shines just a little brighter than the rest. If you want to check your own coins, start with a magnifier, compare to reference images, And don't hesitate to seek professional opinions. For those building sets or looking to sell, certification through PCGS or NGC offers peace of mind. And if you're just learning, remember that every coin has a story, even those that seem ordinary. If you've got a handful of old pennies sitting in a jar, you might want to pause before tossing them back into circulation. Because hidden among those copper-colored cents could be a small detail that changes everything for a collector. Today we're talking about the 1980 Lincoln cent without a mint mark. A coin that millions of Americans have handled, yet very few have truly examined. The question is, does yours carry only face value? Or is there something more? Stay with me as we walk through the story, the diagnostics, and the realities of value that make this coin worth a closer look. The year 1980 was a transitional one for U.S. coinage. Inflation was high, metals prices were volatile, and the Lincoln cent was still struck in a bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. Each coin weighed 3.11 grams, a composition that would be abandoned just 2 years later when the mint switched to a copper-plated zinc planchet in 1982. That small detail is important because it means the 1980 cent still carries a heavier feel and a richer tone than modern zinc issues. A subtle but telling difference any collector will notice immediately. Now, when we say no mint mark on a 1980 cent, we're not talking about an error or a minting accident. In fact, Philadelphia cents in 1980 carried no mint mark at all. That was the standard practice of the U.S. Mint for pennies struck in Philadelphia until 2017. So, if you pull out a 1980 cent and see no letter under the date, that doesn't make it rare. It simply means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced well over 7 billion of them that year. The vast majority saw heavy circulation, and that's why most examples you encounter will be worn, spotted, or scratched. But here's where collectors start paying attention. While a typical 1980 cent without a mint mark is worth only its face value in circulated condition, higher-grade examples begin to separate themselves. Coins that manage to survive with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal bag marks can carry collector premiums. For a circulated coin in average condition, expect just 1 cent of value. In about uncirculated condition where some mint luster remains, you might see interest in the 10 to 25 cent range. Step up to mint state examples graded MS63 to MS65, and values generally move into the $1 to $5 range. At MS66, prices may jump into the teens or 20s, and certified, MS67 examples can command $100 or more, depending on demand. One of the most critical factors for Lincoln cent collectors is strike quality, especially the sharpness of the reverse design. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. Are the columns clear and distinct? Can you see the statue of Lincoln faintly in the center? And on the obverse, is Lincoln's hair sharply defined, or does it blend together? These little details make the difference between a coin that looks ordinary and one that stands out in a grading set. But here's a key attention point. Full red color. Copper coins are notorious for toning and darkening with age. Collectors prize coins that retain their original fiery red mint luster. Brown cents, even in uncirculated condition, generally bring much lower prices. Red-brown coins sit in the middle. True full red coins, certified as such by PCGS or NGC, carry the strongest demand and command the highest auction results. That's why 2 coins of the same date and grade can have dramatically different values. Color designation matters. Are there errors and varieties to watch for in the 1980 Philadelphia cent? The answer is yes, though they are not as dramatic as on some other years. The most talked about variety is the 1980 double die obverse, where strong doubling can be seen on the date and the lettering Liberty. These are not common, but they do exist, and when authenticated, they bring a healthy premium. Another area to check is repunched mint marks. Though remember, with no mint mark on Philadelphia cents, That only applies to Denver issues from this year. Still, collectors sometimes mistake die deterioration doubling for a true doubled die. So if you think you have something unusual, professional grading is the safest route. Here's a quick collector's test. When you tilt the coin under a strong light, do the doubled features show as crisp, distinct lines, or do they look like smudges and shadows? True doubled dies have sharp separation, while mechanical or worn die doubling looks flat and distorted. That difference is what PCGS, NGC, and ANACs are trained to verify. And that brings us to the heart of authentication. If you believe you have a high-grade example, or especially a variety like the doubled die, certification is essential. Submitting to PCGS or NGC provides two things: professional verification of authenticity and a market-accepted grade that anchors its value. Certified holders eliminate the guesswork for buyers and give you access to major auction houses that typically require graded coins for premium lots. Without certification, you're often left with uncertain buyer trust and lower offers. Now let's pause for a moment. With billions of these cents made, you may be wondering, why should a collector care at all? The answer is consistency. Lincoln cents form one of the most widely collected series in American numismatics. Every date and mint mark is part of the story. Even common coins like the 1980 no mint mark fill an important slot in albums, and when found in high-grade red condition, they provide challenge and satisfaction for registry set collectors. The real value isn't in the everyday worn coin. It's in the survivors that defied time and circulation. So how do you sell one of these coins if you find something above ordinary? Let's walk through the options honestly. A local coin dealer will give you immediacy and cash in hand, but you should expect a wholesale offer below retail, since they need margin to resell. Online marketplaces like eBay can give you direct access to collectors, but the risks include returns, fees, and the need for accurate photos and buyer trust. Auction houses, Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections are excellent for certified coins, especially in top grades or with varieties, because they bring visibility and competitive bidding. The trade-off is that auctions take time and charge fees, though the exposure can yield higher final prices than a quick sale. Another path is consignment through a trusted dealer or online auction platform, where the coin is marketed on your behalf. This can strike a balance between reach and convenience, though again fees apply. The worst path? Believing hype-filled advertisements that promise instant million-dollar payouts for common sense. That simply doesn't happen. And that's where this channel will always be straight with you. We deal in facts, not myths. Here's a collector's cautionary tale. Several years ago, a seller approached an online group claiming a 1980 no mint mark penny was worth thousands because it looked rare. It wasn't. It was a worn Philadelphia cent worth a penny. The buyer, had they not known better, could have lost real money. That's why knowledge is your strongest defense against scams. Always verify varieties. Always compare against reliable references like the Red Book or PCGS Coin Facts, and always seek a second opinion before making a major transaction. Now let's add one more layer of intrigue. In 1980, a number of proof Lincoln cents were struck at the San Francisco Mint, carrying the S Mint mark. Proofs are not circulation coins, but they sometimes get mixed into collections by accident. If you come across a deeply mirrored cent with frosted details from this year, check for that S. Proof coins carry different market values altogether, especially in PR69 or PR70 grades, and they're not to be confused with the no mint mark Philadelphia circulation issue. So before you dismiss any 1980 cent as ordinary, take a careful look. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. Think of it this way. A single jar of pennies can tell a story of American history, of changing metals, of the nation's economy, and of the collector's eye for detail. Most 1980 no mint mark cents will never be worth more than 1 cent. But in every series, it's the outliers that spark the hunt, the coins that survived unscathed, or the ones struck with an oddity that slipped through inspection. Those are the coins that connect everyday collectors to a larger tradition. As you weigh the value of your own coins, remember that selling is as much about preparation as it is about the coin itself. Clear photographs, certification where appropriate, and understanding your sales channel will all contribute to your final return. If you have something you believe is truly special, don't rush. Take the time to get it graded, documented, and presented in the right venue. That patience often pays off more than any quick transaction. So, to recap, the 1980 Lincoln cent with no mint mark is the standard Philadelphia issue. Billions were made, and most are only worth face value. The exceptions are coins in unusually high mint state grades, coins retaining full red luster, and recognized error or double die varieties. Certified examples, especially in MS67 red or above, can bring strong premiums, while worn examples are essentially spenders. The best advice is simple. Check your coins carefully, learn what to look for, and when in doubt, seek a professional opinion. Avoid the noise of exaggerated claims, because the real joy of coin collecting comes not from hype, but from knowledge and discovery. The 2014 Lincoln cent belongs to the ongoing shield reverse design, first introduced in 2010 after the bicentennial series of 2009. On the obverse, we see the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. The reverse shows a Union shield with a scroll reading, 1 cent. This design is still current today, and billions of examples are struck every year. That production reality is the first key fact. With enormous mintages at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, most 2014 cents are common in circulation and usually trade only for face value. But as any serious collector knows, the market is not just about common examples. It is about condition, about rarity within condition, and about special varieties. When we say no mint mark on a 2014 penny, we are usually talking about coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Since 2017, Philadelphia has placed a small P mint mark on cents for the first time in history. But in 2014, no mint mark still indicated Philadelphia origin. This is normal and not in itself an error. That's important to stress. The absence of a mint mark on a 2014 cent is expected, and millions exist. Some online listings may exaggerate this, calling them rare. But as collectors, you should recognize that the standard Philadelphia issue of 2014 is one of the most plentiful coins in modern change. So if most examples are face value, why would collectors look more carefully? Condition is the first reason. A 2014 Lincoln cent that has been heavily circulated, showing wear on Lincoln's cheek and hair, or showing discoloration and scratches, is worth 1 cent. That is the reality. But an example that has never circulated, one that shows sharp luster, a strong strike and no contact marks, can command modest premiums. In uncirculated condition, raw examples might bring anywhere from 10 cents to $1, with the upper end reserved for coins that appear nearly flawless. Certified examples, graded by PCGS or SINIC at the top levels, MS67 or MS68, can reach into the tens of dollars, and occasionally more if a population is low for a specific grade. Here's the question. Why would someone pay $50 or $100 for a coin that billions of people could theoretically own? The answer lies in registry competition and conditional scarcity. Even for modern pennies, collectors compete to build the highest graded sets, and only a small fraction of 2014 Philadelphia cents achieve the top certified grades. Now, beyond condition, varieties and errors are what can lift this coin into a different category. Known collectible errors for the 2014 cent include off-center strikes, die cracks, cuds, and dramatic misalignments. These are not typical, and they are usually easy to see without magnification. For example, an off-center strike may show Lincoln's bust partially missing, or part of the design cut off, and the coin itself may appear oval. The more dramatic the error, the higher the premium. Minor die chips or cracks, such as small bumps along the rim or extra metal in the design, can be interesting to specialists and might bring a few dollars each. But dramatic retained cuds or doubled dies will attract more attention. There are reports of a 2014 doubled die obverse, but these are modest varieties, and not every doubling effect is significant. The best advice is to use a loupe. Compare to known varieties listed in resources such as the Cherry Picker's Guide. And if you believe you have a major error, seek an opinion from a trusted dealer or submit to a grading service. Stay tuned here, because one of the most surprising truths about the 2014 No Mint Mark cent is that while it may look plain, certain error examples have sold at auction for more than any circulated lot of hundreds of regular coins. The lesson is not that every penny is a treasure, but that the unusual ones are worth searching for. Let's pause and consider rarity in another dimension. Proof coins. In 2014, proof Lincoln cents were struck at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark, and these were distributed in proof sets. They are not circulation strikes, and therefore they always carry the mint mark. That means if you see a 2014 cent with no mint mark, you are not looking at a proof. Instead, you are almost certainly holding a Philadelphia circulation issue. Still, proof coins deserve mention because they illustrate how collectors differentiate. Strike quality, mirror-like fields, and special finishes are all factors that separate ordinary from premium. So where does that leave us with values? To be direct, the breakdown looks like this. A typical circulated 2014 Philadelphia cent with no mint mark is worth 1 cent. An uncirculated roll pulled from a bank in 2014 might trade today for a few dollars to collectors who want bright, untouched examples. Individually, raw uncirculated coins might sell for under $1 each. Certified coins at MS-67 could bring $30 to $50. Sometimes higher if population reports are low. At MS-68, premiums rise sharply, though only a handful of coins achieve this level. For errors, minor die cracks or chips are novelty items at $1 or $2, while major off-center strikes or double denominations, if discovered, can bring hundreds depending on severity. Notice how the scale moves. Common examples at face value, premium for top condition, and significant jumps for rare error types. This brings us to selling. Suppose you have a handful of 2014 no mint mark cents, and you believe they are pristine. What's the best way to realize value? For common circulated examples, the answer is simple. They are spenders. But for uncirculated rolls, local coin shops or online marketplaces like eBay are practical venues. You might sell a full roll for a few dollars, which is better than simply spending it. For certified high-grade coins, the most effective route is a specialist auction or consignment through a firm like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections. These platforms reach the registry collectors who are willing to pay premiums for the finest known. The benefit of auction is maximum exposure, though you pay fees, often around 10 to 20%. Selling to a dealer gives you immediate payment but at wholesale pricing, as dealers need margin. Online marketplaces like eBay or Etsy provide reach, but they also expose you to exaggerated claims and buyer disputes. If you take that path, high-quality photographs, honest descriptions, and careful shipping are essential. A critical tip: if you believe you have a rare variety or error, certification is invaluable. Services like PCGS and NGC not only authenticate and grade your coin, they also provide a trusted holder that increases buyer confidence. Coins that are raw and described only with subjective terms like rare or near perfect tend to raise skepticism. Certified coins, by contrast, are trusted, and in competitive auctions, Certification is what allows two serious collectors to bid against each other with confidence. Here's a quick pattern interrupt to keep perspective. Did you know that the Mint struck over 3.5 billion Lincoln cents in 2014 across all facilities? That's nearly 11 coins for every person in the United States. Against that backdrop, you can see why condition rarity is more important than raw mintage numbers. Now let's address a reality check. Online, you may see claims of 2014 no mint mark rare error worth thousands. Be cautious. Many of these listings are speculative, and often the coins pictured are ordinary Philadelphia cents being sold at inflated prices. As a professional numismatist, my commitment is to cut through that hype. The real market pays premiums only for coins that are certified at the top grades, or for coins that show dramatic, verifiable errors. Anything else should be treated as common. Protect yourself by researching completed sales, not just asking prices, and by leaning on trusted platforms with verified histories. Imagine this scenario. A collector in Ohio submits a pristine 2014 cent to PCGS. It grades MS68 red, one of only a handful known. At auction, it realizes several $100s. Meanwhile, his neighbor, who has dozens of 2014 cents from pocket change, tries to sell them online and receives only face value offers. The difference lies entirely in condition and certification. That's the dividing line that every collector should understand. Stay tuned for one more important angle: selling strategy for the long term. If you plan to pass coins to heirs, documentation is critical. Keep records of purchase, certification numbers, and provenance. If you choose to sell now, weigh the trade-off between immediacy and maximizing value. Dealers are great for speed and safety. Auctions are ideal for higher value pieces. Online platforms can handle middle ground if you're careful. Never ship valuable coins without insurance. Never rely on casual buyers promising big money. And always remember that proper grading and presentation are what unlock real collector demand. As we close, the 2014 no mint mark Lincoln cent teaches us that not every modern penny is a windfall, but that careful attention to detail, to strike, to errors, and to condition can separate the ordinary from the collectible. For most, these coins are spenders. For the few that grade superbly, they are registry prizes. And for those with striking errors, they can be conversation pieces worth multiples of face value. The key is knowledge, patience, and a refusal to be swayed by hype. So the next time you sort through your change, don't dismiss the humble 2014 cent. Check for luster, look for errors, and if something seems special, seek a professional opinion. Certified grading, honest selling, and a collector's eye are the path to realizing real value. And remember, in this hobby, accuracy and trust are worth more than any exaggerated headline. Keep searching, keep verifying, and above all, keep collecting. The 2016 Lincoln cent is part of the Shield Reverse Design series, introduced in 2010 after the bicentennial issues of 2009. The obverse still carries Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first struck in 1909, making this the longest-running portrait in U.S. coinage history. Now, most 2016 cents were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The key detail is the mint mark, or lack of one. In 2016, the Philadelphia Mint struck billions of cents, and traditionally, Philadelphia coins did not carry a mint mark on denominations under $1. That means a 2016 penny with no mint mark is almost always just a standard Philadelphia issue. Billions exist, and the vast majority are only worth a cent. But as always in numismatics, the story is more nuanced. Stay with me, because the factors that turn a 1-cent coin into a collectible are hiding in the details. Here's a quick reset. You may be wondering, if no mint mark simply means Philadelphia, why are some people searching their pocket change for this coin? The answer lies in condition, varieties, and error production. Collectors know that even modern coins, when found in pristine, uncirculated condition, can carry premiums. A 2016 cent in average circulation, worn and brown, trades at face value. In lightly circulated but still attractive condition, they might sell in bulk to roll collectors for a few cents each, but once you step into higher quality, the sharp red lustrous pieces that grade mint state, values rise. Typical uncirculated coins sell for under $1, but certified mint state 67 or higher examples are scarce. For context, PCGS has graded fewer than a few hundred at that lofty level. At auction, some of those top-graded 2016 cents have realized prices in the $100 to $200 range, depending on eye appeal and bidder interest. That's not retirement money, but it's a real premium for a coin you might find in a bankroll. Now here's a mini cliffhanger. Are there errors or unusual varieties in 2016 that could push values even higher? Yes, but they are rare, and you need to know what you're looking for. Collectors have documented double-die obverse varieties, where parts of the lettering or date show visible doubling. These errors are always of interest, though the 2016 double dies are subtle and not as dramatic as famous earlier issues like 1955 or 1972. Values depend entirely on visibility. Minor. Doubling may add only a few dollars, while stronger. Certified examples can bring $20 to $50 or more. Another point to watch is off-center strikes. If the design is visibly shifted, missing part of the rim or motto, that's an error that collectors actively pursue. Depending on how much of the design is off-center and how complete Lincoln's portrait remains, such errors can fetch anywhere from $20 to a few $100s. Then there are the struck-on wrong planché errors. Rarely, a cent might be struck on a dime blank or a foreign coin blank. These are highly unusual and should always be authenticated by a grading service like PCGS or NGC. When genuine, they can command several $100s, sometimes more. Let's pause for a quick rhetorical question. Have you ever considered how many billions of coins must be struck before a single collectible error slips through? That sense of rarity is part of what keeps error specialists engaged in even modern coinage. Another important variety note. While 2016 marks the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint, it wasn't until 2017 that Philadelphia placed a P mint mark on cents for the first time. That historical footnote leads some new collectors to think the 2016 no mint mark cent is unusual. But in fact, it's the standard for Philadelphia before 2017, so while interesting in context, the absence of a mint mark on 2016 cents is not an error. It's exactly how they were supposed to look. Condition remains the primary driver of value. Collectors classify cents as brown, red-brown, or red, depending on how much original copper color remains. A blazing red, well-struck 2016 cent that grades MS67 red is far scarcer than a dull, circulated coin, and that's where third-party grading comes in. Submitting a coin to PCGS or NGC for certification not only confirms authenticity but also locks in an objective grade. This is especially valuable when trying to sell a modern coin at auction, because bidders will compete more confidently for a coin in a slab with a top population number. That's why you'll sometimes see modest-looking cents suddenly sell for a few $100s. It's about the certified grade and scarcity at that level. Here's another stay-tuned moment. When it comes to selling, not all venues are equal, and choosing the right one can make the difference between getting face value and realizing the full collector premium. If you have a standard 2016 cent in circulated condition, your best route is probably to keep it or spend it. Dealers won't pay more than a cent for worn pieces unless you're selling in large bulk for novelty purposes. But if you have a coin in mint state, especially one certified by PCGS or NGC, an auction house is the strongest option. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers and Great Collections regularly handle modern cents, and the exposure ensures serious collectors will see your coin. The trade-off is fees. Auction houses take a percentage, usually around 15% to 20%. Online marketplaces like eBay give you wide reach but require careful listing, good photos, and awareness of scams. Counterfeit slabs and altered coins circulate online, so protecting yourself with authentication and clear provenance is essential. Dealers provide immediacy. If you need to sell quickly, a local or specialist coin dealer will make an offer on the spot. The downside is that dealers must leave room for their own profit, so you may receive less than the retail auction price. Consignment with a dealer is another hybrid path, where they sell your coin for you and take a smaller cut. Another quick reset here. The most important step before selling is to understand what you have. That means examining the coin under good light, comparing to verified images of errors or doubled dies, and if in doubt, submitting to a grading service. It also means being realistic. A coin graded MS64 red might retail for $5, while the same coin in MS67 red could sell for $150. Those differences hinge on tiny details only visible under magnification, and grading is a skill built over decades. That's why certification builds trust between seller and buyer. Let me tell you a small but telling auction anecdote. In 2021, Great Collections sold a 2016 cent-graded MS68, read by PCGS for just under $300. For a 1-cent coin, that's a remarkable return. But notice the context. It was one of the top population pieces at that grade, with very few peers. That premium was not about rarity of the date, but about rarity of perfection. This is a theme across all modern coinage. Billions are struck, but true gems survive only in small numbers. Here's one more cliffhanger before we close. What about the long-term outlook? Will 2016 no mint mark cents ever become a major key date? The honest answer is no, at least not by mintage. But specialized errors, top-graded certified examples, and coins with a known provenance will always command attention in the registry set world. Collectors competing for finest known sets are the ones who push prices on these modern coins. For the average collector, the fun lies in searching rolls, spotting small errors, and learning the grading process. As we wrap up, remember the guiding principle. Not every coin without a mint mark is special, and not every internet listing claiming rare 2016 penny worth thousands is telling you the truth. Our commitment here is to give you factual, sober information, free of hype. If you think you found a potential variety or high-grade coin, compare it to verified references, and when in doubt, seek an opinion from PCGS, NGC, or a trusted dealer. If you're ready to sell, weigh the pros and cons of auction, dealer sale, or online listing, and prepare with good photos, certification, and honesty in your descriptions. So the next time you see a 2016 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, you'll know exactly what it is. A Philadelphia issue that is almost always worth face value, but with the right condition, the right era, or the right grade, it can step into the world of collectible modern coinage. That knowledge is the true value, and it's what helps you avoid scams, find real opportunities, and grow as a collector. The 2017 P penny is not ancient, not rare in absolute numbers, and not a coin you'll retire on. But it is a numismatic curiosity with a backstory tied to the U.S. Mint's history, and it has become a conversation piece in collections across the country. To understand why this coin matters, we need to step back and look at the role of mint marks in American coinage. For over 200 years, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint carried no mint mark at all. The absence of a letter beneath the date was itself a sign that a coin had been struck at the nation's first mint. That tradition held steady on the cent denomination all the way through 2016. Then, in 2017, something changed. As part of its 225th anniversary, The U.S. Mint decided to add a P-Mint mark to the 1-cent coin, making it the first time in history that Philadelphia's identity was officially stamped onto the penny. The idea was meant to commemorate the anniversary, but it created an unusual one-year variety. In 2018, the mint reverted back to the old style. No mint mark on Philadelphia cents. That makes the 2017 P. Lincoln cent unique in the long run. It's the only year where the cent from Philadelphia carried its own letter. Now, how common are these coins? Extremely common in raw numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 4.3 billion 2017 P pennies, meaning you can still find them in change with ease. In circulated condition, the coin is worth exactly face value. But, as is so often the case with modern issues, the collectible interest comes from condition, variety, and context. High-grade, uncirculated examples certified by PCGS or NGC can sell for modest premiums. For instance, coins graded MS-66 might bring in $10 to $15 on the open market, while MS-67 examples sometimes reach the $50 to $100 range depending on demand. Above that, at MS-68 or better, the coin becomes a condition rarity. And although prices fluctuate, some certified pieces have sold at auction for several $100s. It's not the stuff of national headlines, but for modern issue specialists, that jump in value is significant. So, if you've pulled one of these from circulation, what should you look for? The first thing is preservation. Coins with heavy contact marks, discoloration, or wear will not carry a premium. Look for sharp, fully struck details, particularly in Lincoln's hair and the lettering on the reverse shield. Luster plays a big role. Coins that still flash with their original brilliance are more desirable to collectors. But there's another layer: varieties and errors. While the 2017 P cent doesn't carry a famous double die like some earlier Lincoln cents, there are a few minor errors reported. Die cracks, die clashes, and some off-center strikes. Most of these fall into the novelty category, worth a few dollars at most. But a dramatic example with strong eye appeal can command more. One known variety is a double die obverse, though not major, and usually needs magnification to confirm. The best way to be certain is to compare against documented reference photos, or have the coin reviewed by a grading service. And here's where we pause for a reality check. You'll often see online listings exaggerating the value of the 2017 P penny, with claims that every example is worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That simply isn't the case. The vast majority are worth a cent. A small subset in top certified grades are worth a modest premium, and only the finest survivors or unusual errors push into higher figures. It's always important to separate fact from hype. As collectors, we should be cautious with claims that sound too good to be true. Now, you might be wondering, if these coins are so common, why would someone want to collect them? The answer lies in completeness and history. A Lincoln cent collection that spans from 1909 through the present will feel incomplete without the 2017 P. It's a one-year-only design detail, and that makes it a must-have for series collectors. In the future, when decades have passed and rolls of 2017 cents are less available, the 2017 P may stand out as a small but intriguing marker in U.S. mint history. Let's add a little perspective with a rhetorical question. How many other U.S. coin series changed mint mark tradition after more than 2 centuries? Almost none. That's why this coin, while common, is still worth paying attention to. If you believe you have a high-grade example, the best step you can take is to submit it to a grading service, such as PCGS or NGC. Certification not only protects the coin in a tamper-resistant holder, but also provides market confidence. Buyers are far more willing to pay top dollar for a certified MS-67 than they are for a raw coin described as uncirculated in an online listing. Professional grading helps remove doubt. So what if you're ready to sell, Where should you go to get a fair price? There are several options, each with advantages and drawbacks. Auction houses like Heritage or Stack's Bowers offer the highest visibility for rare, high-grade coins, but they also charge seller's fees and may not accept every submission. Specialist coin dealers can provide immediate liquidity, though they usually pay wholesale prices rather than full retail. Online marketplaces like eBay give you wide exposure and potentially strong results, but they carry risks, buyer disputes, fees, and the need for excellent photography. For coins of modest value, sometimes the easiest route is a direct sale to a dealer. For certified condition rarities, auction houses remain the most effective way to reach serious bidders. If you decide to list a coin yourself online, preparation matters. Take clear, sharp photos under neutral lighting, show both obverse and reverse, and always disclose any flaws. For coins above $100 in value, certification should be considered essential. Provenance also helps. If you can point to where and when the coin was graded or acquired, it adds credibility. Stay tuned, because here's an important warning. The coin collecting world is full of misinformation and inflated promises. Some sellers will attempt to pass off ordinary 2017 p cents as rare errors worth hundreds, preying on uninformed buyers. As part of this channel, I want to be very clear. Not every odd-looking cent is a jackpot. True value comes from condition rarity, confirmed varieties, and verifiable certification. If you want to avoid disappointment, always cross-check claims against reputable resources, auction archives, or trusted dealers. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents sometimes put together complete mint mark sets, and the 2017 P offers an unusual anchor point in that pursuit. Think of it as a modern curiosity that connects back to traditions stretching over a century. It may not be a headline maker, but it is a story coin, one that reflects how the mint occasionally makes symbolic gestures that ripple through numismatics. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you really examined the date and mint mark on a penny before spending it? Most people don't. And that's why coins like the 2017 P can still slip past unnoticed. In a way, that's part of the fun. It's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a collector's eye to spot it. In the end, the 2017 1-cent coin with the P mint mark is a coin of context rather than intrinsic rarity. Billions exist, but only 1 year carries this feature. Typical circulated examples are face value. Attractive uncirculated examples are worth a small premium. Certified top-grade survivors are where the real interest lies, sometimes climbing into the hundreds at auction. Errors exist but are not widespread, and the serious collector should rely on professional grading for authentication. If you own one and want to sell, consider your route carefully. Dealers provide speed, auctions provide exposure, and online marketplaces provide flexibility. Protect yourself with facts, not promises, and avoid falling for the hype that every 2017 P penny is a hidden treasure. So, as you check your pocket change tonight, look carefully. That little P beneath the date is more than just a letter. It represents a brief departure from centuries of tradition, a 1-year experiment that gave collectors something to talk about. If you find one in pristine condition, it might just be worth setting aside. And if you're holding on to one right now, you've got a small piece of U.S. mint history. For collectors who want to build knowledge, the lesson is clear. Not every coin needs to be rare to be interesting, and not every interesting coin needs to be worth a fortune. But the story matters, and the 2017 P Lincoln cent tells a unique one. It's a Lincoln cent, dated 2020, with the familiar D mint mark under the date. At first glance, it looks like just another penny, worth 1 cent and destined for the vending machine. But what if I told you that some collectors are paying attention to this very coin, looking for particular qualities and mistakes that can turn a common pocket piece into something worth far more than face value? That's where the story of the 2020 D Lincoln cent begins. And if you've handled pocket change in the last few years, there's a good chance you've had one in your hands already. Stay with me, because while most 2020D pennies are only worth their denomination, there are exceptions, and knowing how to tell them apart is what separates casual spenders from informed collectors. The 2020 Lincoln cent was struck at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The D Mint mark indicates it was made in Denver, which has long been one of the U.S. Mint's high-volume producers of circulating coinage. In fact, over 4 billion of these cents were struck in Denver in 2020 alone. With numbers that high, it's no surprise that most examples remain extremely common in circulation today. If you're holding one that's been rattling around in pockets or registers, it's almost certainly worth just a cent. But the real question is, what qualities can push a 2020D cent into collectible territory? Before we get to values, let's talk about the coin's design. The obverse, or front, features Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which has been in use since 1909. The reverse shows the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010, symbolizing national unity. By 2020, collectors were well familiar with this design, so most didn't set these coins aside in bulk, unless something unusual stood out. Now here's where things start to get interesting. Like every modern cent, the 2020D is made of copper-plated zinc, not the solid bronze composition that older pennies had. That means these coins can tone differently, sometimes showing bright red luster when uncirculated or dull brown when heavily used. Condition plays a huge role in value. A heavily circulated 2020D cent, the kind with scratches, spots, and dull surfaces, is worth only face value. Slightly nicer examples, what collectors call about uncirculated or extremely fine, still generally carry no premium. But in high mint state condition, particularly coins that retain brilliant original red surfaces and have very few marks, collectors will pay a few dollars. Certified examples graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC can bring substantially more, with some auction results in the low hundreds of dollars. Those are the exceptions, but they're real and verifiable sales from grading service registries. Here's a quick checkpoint. Did you know that coins graded MS68 red, even modern ones, are far scarcer than the mintage would suggest? Billions may have been struck, but only a tiny handful survive without the slightest blemish. That's why the grading services track population reports, and serious collectors chase those top spots for registry sets. So what about errors and varieties? This is the area where even a modern cent can suddenly become valuable. For the 2020D, collectors have reported double die reverses, where parts of the shield show slight doubling. There are also instances of die cracks, cuds, and off-center strikes that occasionally turn up in rolls. These are not common, and most casual finders overlook them. But when authenticated, they can be worth $10, $50, or in some cases several $100s depending on severity and eye appeal. A classic example is an off-center strike where the design is misaligned. Dramatic versions that show missing detail can be highly collectible. Stay tuned, because in a moment I'll explain how you can safely spot these without falling for exaggerated online claims. When looking for errors, remember that not every odd mark or plating bubble is a true mint error. In fact, zinc cents are notorious for corrosion spots and surface issues that look dramatic but add no value. The only way to be certain is to compare your coin to documented error types, and when in doubt, seek an opinion from a professional. Submitting to PCGS or NGC for certification not only confirms authenticity, it also gives you an objective grade that helps determine market value. Graded error coins sell more consistently because buyers trust the attribution. At this point, you might be asking, what's the realistic range if I find a 2020D cent that looks promising? Here's the breakdown. In typical circulated condition, expect only face value. In high-end uncirculated, raw examples might bring $1 to $3. Certified coins in MS-67 red often realize between $40 and $100, and the few known at MS-68 red have sold in the $500 range at reputable auction houses. Error coins vary. A minor die crack might only fetch a few dollars, but a dramatic off-center strike or strong doubled die could bring $50 to $200 or more, depending on the market. These figures aren't guesses. They're based on sales data from major auction platforms and dealer listings. Here's a wry thought. For a coin minted in the billions, isn't it ironic that collectors will pay hundreds for just a few flawless survivors? That's the paradox of modern mintages. The scarcity isn't in the numbers struck, but in the condition and quality that survive. Now, let's move into the part every collector and seller really wants to know. If you do have a valuable 2020D cent, how do you sell it? There are several paths, each with advantages and drawbacks. Selling directly to a coin dealer is the fastest route. You'll get immediate cash, but expect the dealer to pay less than retail because they need room for resale profit. Auction houses like Heritage or Stack's Bowers can achieve strong prices, especially for certified high-grade coins or rare errors. But they charge fees, and the process takes longer. Online platforms such as eBay give you access to a wide pool of buyers, but you take on the responsibility of clear photography, accurate descriptions, and buyer risk. Consignment with a trusted dealer blends some of these options, offering exposure while having an expert handle the sale. Here's another stay-tuned moment. Before you rush to list a coin online, let's talk about preparation. The best results come when you've done your homework. That means accurate grading, sharp photos that show luster and detail, and ideally a certification slab from PCGS or NGC. Buyers pay more when they don't have to guess about condition or authenticity. Provenance, documenting where a coin came from, can also add trust. Even with modern coins, a note that a piece was sold in a reputable auction last year reassures bidders one important trust-building note. Beware of exaggerated claims you may see online. Many videos or listings will suggest every 2020 penny is worth thousands of dollars, which simply isn't true. Only top condition or rare error coins reach high figures, and even then, those numbers are grounded in verifiable sales, not speculation. At Coin Lords, we'll always keep the record straight, so you can avoid disappointment and focus on real opportunities. So let's take stock. The 2020D Lincoln cent is overwhelmingly common, and in everyday circulation it spends as intended, for 1 cent. But in pristine mint state grades, and in the case of genuine mint errors, it crosses into collectible territory. Those pieces may only represent a sliver of the total mintage, but for collectors building sets or chasing registry spots, they carry real premiums. And for sellers, knowing how to navigate grading and marketplaces can mean the difference between pocket change and a respectable return. Here's a final question for you. Have you checked your change lately? Or do you have rolls of 2020D pennies set aside untouched? If so, it might be worth giving them a second look under good light, and perhaps a magnifier. Focus on condition, look for clean surfaces, and strong strikes, and keep an eye out for unusual doubling or dramatic minting mistakes. If something looks exceptional, consider a professional opinion before making any decision. Collectors in the United States continue to seek quality Lincoln cents. Even from the modern years, and the 2020D plays its role in that long-running series. It may not be a $1 million rarity, but it's a coin that keeps collectors engaged, reminds us of the difference condition makes, and rewards those who pay attention. So, whether you're hunting through pocket change or sorting through bankrolls, keep an eye open for these modern cents. And when you're ready to learn the truth about your coins, without hype and without empty promises, you know where to turn. Keep searching and keep collecting.